The 15th of October 1946 was the last day of Hermann Göring's life. He had received a death sentence at the Nuremberg trial of major war criminals, and that sentence was to be carried out in the early hours of the next day. The military commander of the prison, Colonel Burton Andrews, informed Dr. Pflücker in the afternoon that the condemned men were to be awakened at 23:45, notified that their execution was imminent, and offered something to eat. As night fell, most of the lights were turned on, which was unusual. This must have confirmed to everyone that the executions were about to take place. At 20:30, Private First Class Gordon Bingham took up his post at Goering's door, keeping an eye on him. Goering was then lying on his bed, wearing his boots, trousers and coat, reading. At around 20:50, Goering went to the toilet, urinated and took off his boots, changing into his slippers. He tidied the cell and put on his pyjamas, which were pale blue jacket and black silk trousers. He then lay down, pulled up the military blankets to his waist, and it seemed as though he were asleep. He had left his clothes and papers in neat piles. Prison rules stated that both arms needed to be outside the blanket whilst the prisoner was asleep. 8 reporters were allowed to watch the executions, and they were permitted to see the prisoners through the windows in the doors around this time. At 21:30, Dr. Pflücker returned with sleeping pills for Goering and Sauckel. Sauckel got a sleeping pill, but the doctor had filled Goering's not with the usual sedative, but instead with baking soda. He stated later that he had not wanted Goering to have to be awakened for his execution. When Pflücker entered the cell, he was escorted by the duty officer, First Lieutenant Arthur J. McLinden. Goering spoke quietly with the doctor for around 3 minutes. Goering told him, or so the doctor later said, that the executions were to take place that night. The doctor handed over a pill, which Goering put in his mouth immediately. The doctor took Goering's pulse. On leaving, he shook hands with Goering, something he had never done before. Goering lay still on his bed. Lieutenant Dowd looked in. It appeared to him that Goering was asleep. At around 22:30, the 6-man hanging team walked into the gymnasium. The guard at Goering's door was changed to Private First Class Harold F. Johnson. Goering lay still until 22:40. Now I'm going to quote the testimony of Johnson. He brought his hands across his chest with fingers laced and turned his head to the wall. He lay that way for around 2 to 3 minutes, then placed his hands back along his sides. That was at 10:44 p.m. exactly. I looked at my watch to check the time. That was the moment when Goering bit into the glass ampoule containing the cyanide, which killed him in a few seconds.